Let's go.
Let's go.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone.
Boa tarde.
Tudo bem? Tudo bem? Tudo bom? Okay, tudo. Great. Thank you so much for having us. Valerie and I are very excited to be here. We are falling in love with Brazil, I'll tell you. We were here for 2 months last year, and this year we've been here for 6 weeks already. We're leaving at the end of the month, but we plan on spending a lot more time down here. And so a quick background on who we are. I spent 26 years with the Walt Disney Company. Started as my first job parking cars at Epcot out of college. That's the only job they'd give me. I was a political science major in university, and with that, you really can't get any job. So I parked cars. And I did that for 6 months, and then had the opportunity to go to Disneyland Paris, which opened in 1992. And of course, I had skills now, so I parked cars in France. We call that international parking. And then I spent 5 years in France, met Valerie, and we had a quick engagement because my green card was about to expire. So we had a 4-week engagement, got married, and spent 5 years in France, and then moved to Florida in 1997, and spent 21 years working for Walt Disney World. So in total, 19 different jobs with the company, from parking cars to being a manager to being a general manager. I ran some of the hotels. I ran some of the operations and theme parks. In my last 9 years there, I was the vice president of Epcot, and then Disney's Hollywood Studios, and then Magic Kingdom. So I was so lucky to get an incredible education from a company that really knows how to focus on a great employee experience, a great customer experience, and makes a lot of money. And so today, Valerie and I want to share with you a lot of what we learned. And I'm going to have Valerie introduce herself, but we're going to really talk to you about not only how does Disney do what they do, but then how can you do the same thing with Orla Rio, with your operations? Because what we're going to talk about today, it doesn't have to do with how much money you have, doesn't how many resources you have. It's just how great do you want to make the experiences in your kiosks, in your operations. And if you improve those experiences, you're going to make more money. So everything we talk about today is about being a stronger company, more profitable, more successful. Now, it takes a lot to get there, but just keep that in mind today. We're not talking about this because it's just something you just want to do. You all are making a living doing this, and if you follow these principles, you will literally make more money. And we'll give you some tactics and tools today to help you think about that. So now I'm going to turn it over to the real superstar of the family, my wife Valerie, and let her introduce herself.
Boa tarde todo. Como vai, tudo bem? Eu gostaria de falar português, mas eu acho que o meu português não é suficiente. Mas a próxima vez, não? Então, vamos falar inglês. Give me a thumbs up if you hear the translation really good. Everybody is good with the translation, with the headphones? Yes? Okay, ótimo. So, my name is Valerie. I'm originally from France, born and raised, and I worked for Disney about 15 years. I met my Prince Charming at Disney, and we opened a park in Paris and worked there for 5 years. And then we moved back to America. My background with Disney originally was in retail, merchandise locations. But later on, towards the end of my career, the last 6 years, I worked for Disney Institute. Does anybody here know Disney Institute? Okay, you do. Okay, we have one person. Great. So Disney Institute is a department of Disney that trains outside organizations like Orla Rio, and teaches Disney's approach to customer service, Disney's approach to leadership. So I did this at Walt Disney World, I did this in California, and also for some of our clients all over the world, primarily in Canada, in Quebec, because I could do the teaching in English and in French for the French-speaking people in Quebec. So this is my path with Disney. Now in 2018, Dan and I decided to leave Disney. It's a great company, and we enjoyed working for Disney, but we were ready to travel the world, keep learning, because what we do now, we work with companies, with industries that we didn't know before, and we learn a lot, and we teach and share a lot. So like Dan said, everything we're going to talk about today is something you can apply in your business. When we travel the world and we tell people about Disney, everybody thinks, yes, but it's Disney. They have a lot of money, they have the movies, they have the characters. Well, you will see that everything we talk about doesn't require any of this. In fact, our training programs, we have a workshop that is called the Method to the Magic, and I always start by saying, we have really bad news for you, there's no magic. None whatsoever. There's no magic at Disney. Everything is working because of hard work, consistency, attention to details. So we're going to be talking about this today. And like Dan and I like to say, everything you're going to hear that it's very simple. But do not confuse simple with easy. Those are hard things to implement. And once again, they're going to require hard work and they're going to require consistency. So in order to start with the presentation we're going to do, I'm going to start sharing a story with you. How many of you, first of all, raise your hand if you've been to Walt Disney World? Okay, most of you, I would say, a lot of you. Great. How many of you have seen the parade? Wonderful. So when you go see the parade, typically it's at Magic Kingdom. That's the big parade. And when you work at Magic Kingdom, Dan was the vice president of Magic Kingdom. And when you work there, if you work on Main Street, every day, several times a day, you're going to hear the same absolutely ridiculous question. You know what that question is? At what time is the 3 o'clock parade? You hear that question all the time. And there's 3 ways you can answer this question. The first one is to say, well, it's called the 3 o'clock parade. At what time do you think it starts? All right? Number 2 option, if you try to understand what the guest is asking, you realize that what they want to know is, at what time is the parade arriving here where I'm standing right now? So the perfect answer would be to say, the parade starts in Frontierland, and then it goes to the center of the park, around the hub, it comes down Main Street, and it gets here at about 3:20. Pretty good, wouldn't you say? Yeah, but remember, this is Disney, and they want high service, and we want to provide exceptional experiences and excellent experiences for the guest. So here's the better answer. The parade starts at 3 o'clock in Frontierland. It goes to the center of the park, goes around the hub, comes down Main Street, and arrives here at 3:20. And you see this curb over here? If you sit down right here, first of all, you're going to be seated. You're going to be in the shade. You're going to enjoy the cool air coming out of the store that's right behind you. And every time you're going to take a picture of one of the floats, you're going to have the castle in the background. Now, that's a perfect answer, right? So the question for you, or the reason why I wanted to tell you this story is because this shows you the level of service that successful companies like Disney, this is what they want to deliver. So the question is, how do you determine what is your level of service? What is the equivalent of that for Orla Rio? And more importantly, how do you make your employees deliver that service? Because I'm sure all of you here, you know exactly, you want that excellent service, right? But the challenge sometimes is, how do you pass this along to the people who work for you? So this is what we're going to talk about today. Then I'll leave it to you from here.
All right. ¿A qué hora es desfile das 3 horas? Good question. So we're going to share with you, this first slide is the model of how Walt Disney World thinks about how it runs its business. It is the strategy. I would argue it's probably a strategy you have today, or it's something you think about. And as Valerie said, I don't think you're going to be surprised with it, but don't confuse simple with easy. And there's really 4 pillars, and we're going to talk about all 4 of these pillars today. And some of you are going to hear a lot of great ideas today, and you're going to take notes. And you're going to leave here, and you're going to do nothing. That's fine. That's your choice. Some of you are going to get a little gold nugget and say, you know what, I'm going to try that. I'm going to see if this works, and you're going to try something new. And some of you are going to take pages full of notes, and over the next month, year, 2 years, you're going to really start thinking about how to make improvements in these areas, and it's going to lead to improvement in your business. So the way we talk about it's the chain of excellence, and it ends with sustainable results. That's the outcome of the chain of excellence. We're going to start there, and we're going to work our way backwards. Now, chain of excellence, how do you get sustained results? You deliver great customer service. Right? When guests have a great experience, they come back again. In order to deliver great results, your employees have to be able to deliver that experience. You all are sitting here right now, but your operations are running out there right now. And there's customers sitting down in your operations. They're being greeted, they're being served, they're having good experiences, bad experiences, unforgettable experiences, forgettable experiences. And it's up to you to be able to maintain that operation while you're not there. When I was at the Magic Kingdom, I had 12,000 employees. And I quickly learned that I wasn't that important. My importance was to make sure every one of those 12,000 employees knew how to do their job, how to deliver the Disney experience to guests, because that was going to be my success. And in order to do that, it's up to leadership. You all are in leadership roles. You decide the culture that you want to create for your organizations. When you show up, sometimes people get nervous, whether you do a good job or not. The boss is here, the leader is here. But you set the tone. If you get your operations and you go to the kitchen and you shake people's hands and you ask them how they're doing and you remember their names and you talk with the servers and you ask them, do you have everything you need to get the job done? How's the business going? If you talk to your managers, how are things going? What are you seeing? What feedback are you seeing from our guests? What can I give you to make your job better, make your job easier, to do a better job? When you show up to your operations and you go table to table and you talk with your customers, yourself, you don't read a report. You go see what the operation looks like and you ask them, how has your experience been? That's what leadership is. Leadership is hands-on. You set the tone for the organization. When you set the tone for the organization and you create that clarity, you create that positivity, your employees feel that, they're going to be more likely to deliver a great experience to your customers, and you're going to get sustained results. It's that simple, and it's that hard, because this is a very simple model. But this is every single day when I was working in any of my operations at Disney, I was thinking to myself, am I delivering in all these areas? And especially, am I paying attention to the culture I'm creating first, and not just focusing on the dollars? Because if you take care of the upstream, you take care of your employees and your customers, the results, the profits will take care of themselves. And that's how Disney runs its business. It's a long-term view. So these are the 2 things you're looking for in your business to have sustainable results: intent to return and intent to recommend. Now, I know a lot of you every day you're looking at how much should I charge for a caipirinha? How much should I charge for the food? You're looking at pricing. You're looking at volume. How do I get an internet site there? How do I get more people to come to my operation? That's called advertising. You spend a lot of money for advertising so people know about you. And then you're always looking at costs. How can I lower my costs? How can I use technology more efficiently? How can I get a better contract from Budweiser? Or how can I get a better contract from the food contracts I have? Those are the 3 things you use to run your business: price, volume, and cost. And you manage that every day. I spent a lot of time at that at Disney. Every time we made decisions, what can we price this? How can we get the cost lower? How can we get more volume? But successful companies focus on this also. Are you coming back? Now that I got you to come here for the first time, are you coming back again? And I know a lot of you have what we call regulars, right? You have customers that come back all the time, and they're like gold because they're called recurring revenue. They come back again and again and again, and you need to give them a reason to keep coming back. And we're going to talk about how to do that. But you also have to give them something to talk about. They need to refer. They need to talk to others. They need to tell their neighbors about your operation. When they have friends from traveling from outside the country, they have to say, when you come to Rio or Baja or wherever your operations are, you need to go to, I need to take you to this place. You need to see this. It's such a great place. And the great thing is, you all have some of the most beautiful views in the world. I mean, this is just an unbelievable place. You already have the venue. You don't need a castle. You have the landscape and what this whole place looks like, these beaches and the beautiful islands. People come from all over the world to be here. So you already have a great venue. Now it's up to you to make sure people come back to your operation and they remember you. And we're going to talk about this today also, because this is a guarantee for your business. Now, a couple statistics for you. 86% of customers who have an outstanding experience will spend more money, right? They'll spend more money when they have an excellent experience. And I'll give you an example. This morning, we're staying in Copacabana Beach, and we had breakfast at the Fairmont. And when we got there, we have our friend Agnes, who speaks French, English, Portuguese. We have her parents who live in Rio, who speak French and Portuguese. And then you have me. I speak English and French. So we all had to decide on a common language when we get together. And we speak French. It's the one language we all understand and we all speak. And when the server at the Fairmont came to the table, his words were, bonjour, bienvenue to the Fairmont. And I don't know if they knew we spoke French or he heard us, but this kid learned to speak French and he got assigned to our table. And the whole time, he was fantastic. He's talking to us in French, telling us about himself. He kept our coffee glasses full. He was attentive. And at the end of the meal, it was such an outstanding experience. When the check came, I signed it. On the way out, I gave him 100 reais. I said, I just want to let you know, this was the best service I've had in Rio so far. Thank you so much for that. And he was pretty excited to get 100 reais, but I think he was more excited to be recognized by someone to tell him how great a job he had done. And so your customers, now I'm American and we're known for tipping a lot. That's not the reputation of around the world for other nationalities all the time. But the fact is, when your customers get better service, they're willing to spend more money. And when they get individual, personalized, unexpected service. And the other thing is 49% of your guests, they will make an impulse decision and buy more if you put it in front of them. And we're going to talk about that today. How do you create these moments where people are willing to pay more? At Disney, we're very careful about how much we charge for a bottle of water, right? Because everyone knows what a bottle of water costs. And if I go to the supermarket and I go to Disney, I know it's going to be more expensive, but I don't want it to be 4 times more expensive because that's insulting to me. Now, if you've been to Disney and you have a little girl, you may have been to Cinderella's castle and done a princess makeover. And when you go to Disney, we tell you, you know what? If you want to do the full package, it's $500 to go to the Bippity Boppity Boutique to get a princess makeover. And when I talk to guests at Disney, they say, it's ridiculous. I can't believe you're charging that much money for that. It's almost like you're stealing from me. And I'm like, so then you don't want to do it? Well, yes, I'm going to do it for both my daughters, but I don't like paying that much money. So the point is, people may not always want to spend that money, but they will if you give them an experience that's going to be memorable and it's worth the experience. And once again, you have some incredible kiosks and you have an opportunity to create these moments. In addition to the food and beverage that you sell, you are creating and selling experiences to guests. And when you sell that, your business is going to be successful at more than you ever imagined. The last thing here, excellent experiences is free marketing, right? You don't have to go do advertising if all your customers are coming back. You don't have to do advertising if all your customers are telling everyone else to go to your operations. So it's free. And so today we're going to get into how to create that experience so you spend less on marketing and you make more because people want to be in your operation. But the question is, how high are you willing to raise the bar? At Disney, we decided we're never done. It's never good enough. Every single day, we finish the day and we say, what can we do better tomorrow? No matter how good it gets, we're always saying, what's the next thing we need to do to get better? And if you're in the hospitality industry, you need to have a passion for continuous improvement. You have to have a passion to always improve, always look for something better, never be satisfied. And that's a sign of a great business. So I'm going to ask you a quick question when I'm talking about raising the bar. I'd like everyone to raise their hands as high as they can. Raise your hand as high as you can.
Do you think you can go higher than that?
I want to see higher.
Can you go higher than that? Can somebody go higher than this?
Come on, higher.
If there's higher than this?
All right.
I'll
tell you what, get two. She was the first one to stand up, and he was the first one to stand on his chair, so they both get it. But there we go. We're going to make this interactive today. So these are, we call these magic wands. Now, these aren't going to work to improve your business, but they're a lot of fun to have. So
for you.
Let me make sure
Good
it
job.
works. Yes, it does work. All right, well done.
All right, well done.
So once again, how high, can you raise your hand? How good are you willing to push to get your operation to be the best it can be? And remember, no matter what you learn today, there's always something else you can do, and that's going to be a theme of something we talk about.
So let's talk about service excellence, what you need to do for your guests. And just like you pointed out, there's always something that you can do. That's what we call the above and beyond. So here's what happens is when people come to your kiosk, when people come to Disney, they have expectations. So they already have certain things that they are paying for, and they sure expect to be experiencing this. So here we go. Those are the essential items, the things that you have got to deliver. But then there is that other level, right? So this is going to be what we call above and beyond, acima et além, right? So what are these? Those are things that your visitors, your clients, the guests at Disney, they don't even know they exist. They don't even know to expect. And that's where you surprise them. That's when you give them something to talk about. So they can go to social media, they can go see their friends and talk about this, little thing that happened that was so different that they feel compelled to tell others about it. That's what brings people back to your business. That's what gives them motivation to recommend your business. So Walt Disney was a smart guy. And the Walt Disney Company follows in his footsteps. And everything he started back in 1955, when he started his first theme park in California, today in 2023 are still the same principles that are applied in the Disney organization. So what they know is that when it comes to expectation, people come to Disney for entertainment. They want the show, they want the parade, they want the characters, they want the fireworks. And then they come to Disney because people are friendly at Disney. They always smile. They're always happy to see the guest. And then they go there because it is safe. And safety is not something we talk a lot about at Disney, but it's something that we know that if it's not being delivered, nothing else will matter, right? And you have the same thing here in Rio. People come here. They want to be safe. If they're not safe, doesn't matter what their vacation is going to be like. So that's a big criteria. Then it's going to be convenient. It's going to be easy. You have got to make it easy for people to do business with you. They're on vacation. They don't want to be, confused or frustrated. They want things to run smoothly so they can have a great time. So those are the expectations. And then you have above and beyond. What's in the above and beyond? Well, there's what we call magical moments at Disney. Those are those special moments where something happens that, again, you can go and you can talk about this experience that made you feel like a VIP. And then there's all the little details. So those are a couple of things we're going to talk about. But let's start with the expectation. That's the easy part. Though, I shouldn't say easy, because if you got to deliver this consistently, you're going to have great processes, you're going to have to train your employees, you're going to have to motivate your employees to deliver these. So at Disney, they know that the guests, when they come, they expect entertainment, they expect people to be friendly. So what they did, they created criterias. And those are called, standards or decision criterias. And on day one, when you become an employee at Disney, you're being told that these are the 4 things that have got to be delivered no matter what. Safety, courtesy, show, and efficiency. It doesn't matter if you're the vice president, or if you're the frontline person, if you're the person who works in HR, person who works in finance, wherever you work at Disney, you have a job, you have a role, you have responsibilities. But no matter what your roles and responsibilities are, you have got to deliver safety, courtesy, show, and efficiency. Because at Disney, they know that these are the reason why people come to the parks. So this is part of every day. That's all they talk about. Every day you start working, people will remind you of this. So what does it look like? Safety. There is security all over the park. They make sure that the children are the right height to go on the attractions. They will make sure that sorry, I've got happy fingers today. They make sure that the curbs are painted different colors so you don't trip and fall, right? Courtesy. They always have smiling employees who have a name tag so you know who you're dealing with. And they'll tell you, hello, my name is Valerie. So happy to see you. Welcome to the park. Now you feel like, okay, this is not cheap. By the way, if you've been to Disney, you know that Disney is not a non-profit organization, right? It's expensive. It's not cheap. So you've got to make sure that people feel comfortable about spending that kind of money. And by the way, always be nice to the kids, because when you're nice to the kids are nice to mom. And when mom is happy, dad is happy, right? Because if mom's grumpy, then dad's going to be grumpy. It won't take long, right? So you got to make sure that you deliver this. The show, of course, this is easy to understand. The fireworks, the attractions, the characters, all of this. And then you have the efficiency. That's why Disney invested in $1 billion with a magic band where you can put your park tickets on it. It's your room key. It's your attraction reservation. It's your photo pass. Everything's on this. This is why they monitor the queue line. So they tell you, hey, there's a 45-minute wait here. So you get you make your reservation. Why would Disney spend $1 billion to do this, by the way? Because when people don't have to wait in line, what do? They go and they eat, or they go and they shop, and they spend more money on Disney property, right? So all this efficiency is really related to the bottom line. It's not only being nice to the guests and make it efficient for them, it's also making it efficient so they can go and spend more money, right? So let me tell you about those 4 categories: safety, courtesy, show, and efficiency. When you start on day 1 at Disney, they tell you this is the order of priority, which is surprising because you would think Disney is about the show, the entertainment. That should be number 1, right? Well, let me tell you why it's important to have safety number 1. Imagine, I'm Valerie. This is my first job. I work at Disney. I've been working at Disney for 2 weeks. And my job is to work in Haunted Mansion. How many of you have been to Haunted Mansion? Cool ride, right? So if you've been to Haunted Mansion, you'll know that you're on a walking sidewalk, and you have to get into a train, which looks like this, which is which also moves. So it takes a little bit of coordination to get from the moving walkway into the moving train. And I've been working for Disney 2 weeks, and I see this family of 5 that arrive. And my job is to say, how many in your group? And then help them get onto the train. And then this family of 5 arrives, and there's mom, dad, little boy, little girl, and grandma. And grandma looks like her balance isn't great. And I have to make a split-second decision. Am I going to stop the ride to let her board? But if I do this, there's people who are already in the show, they are already in the Haunted Mansion, and they're having a great time, and they sing the ghost and all of this. And if I stop the ride, there's going to be an automatic message that comes on saying, ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated. Your experience in the Haunted Mansion will resume momentarily. It's not a great show when you have to stop the experience. And then what about courtesy? I'm working right here. This is the train. And here, there's about 100 people who have been waiting 90 minutes. And now I stop the ride in front of them. And they're going to have to wait a little longer until we start riding it again. Let me tell you, these people, they're looking at me. They're not happy at all. So the courtesy, And then the efficiency, of course, I slow down. If I stop the ride, I'm going to slow down the whole process. So the efficiency goes down. But I, Valerie, can make that split-second decision because I've been told safety comes first. So I know that I hit the red button, I stop the ride, so that grandma can get on the ride safely. Because we understand that for the guest, safety comes first, and nothing after that is going to matter if people are not safe. If grandma breaks a leg or falls, gets hurt, then the whole family is having a bad time, right? So what are the criterias? What are the things that you must deliver in your business that you have to deliver no matter what, and in which order do they come? So those criteria, those decision criteria have to be consistent across your organization. That means if I go to the kiosk, the person in the kitchen will have to think about the same criteria as the greeter, as the person who serves the food, as the person who cleans the place. They need to have the same objective, the same criteria that they use. And if you create this, you know what you're creating? Consistency. And now you already can deliver those great expectations consistently and make your visitors, your client, or your guest happy. So once you've done this, you've got to do the above and beyond. And this is the really fun part. This is the emotional part. This is where you make people feel special, and they love you for this. I always say in a very cynical way, though it is very true, that Disney is successful because at Disney, they work their way, they touch your heart on their way to your wallet. And they do that very effectively. This is, yeah. At Disney, they like to call it pixie dust. It's not pixie dust. It's an emotional connection that they create. And statistically, 85% of our buying decisions are made from here. And 15% of our decisions are made up here. So they understand that when you make people feel special and you tap into their heart, you know what happens? At Disney, there's 50 million people coming to Walt Disney World every year, and they're saying, please take my money. And they do this willingly. There's no threats, there's no torture. They're just happy to come and give their money to Disney because of this part. And you do that with this, with those special moments and with the attention to details. So special moment looks like this. It's right before the parade, and you have a couple of employees when everybody waits for the parade to start, and they're kind of bored and it's hot. Well, sometimes they start a sing-along, or sometimes they take a jump rope and they get some of the children to jump just to entertain them. This is, the jumping rope is not very expensive, by the way. This is some areas where they buy a little costume so children can be a pretend employee for 10, 15 minutes. And they work in the bakery with some of the cast members who work in the bakery. This is people systematically, Disney employees always say, can I take your picture for you? Why? Because in every family, there's always the same person that takes the pictures. It's either dad or mom. And then either dad or mom is never in the pictures. So at Disney, it's a reflex. Dan and I, between the two of us, we worked for Disney 41 years, and it's such a reflex that even now that we don't work for Disney, we still tell people, hey, can I take your picture for you? Because you want to make sure the whole family has a souvenir. This is a little special moment. Again, doesn't cost a thing, right? But it's something that people are trained about. This is a restaurant at Disney that's called the Whispering Canyon. It's at the Wilderness Lodge. Great restaurant. Here's a fun thing. The waiters and waitresses there, they always make fun and they talk to each other, and it's kind of a loud place, but it's really a lot of fun. And if you ask for ketchup, and especially when it's a child, and the child says, can I please have some ketchup? The waiters always does this. They say, there's somebody here wants ketchup, and every waiter in the restaurant brings a bottle of ketchup. So the kid ends up with 15 bottles of ketchup, and it's just a fun joke. You know how much it cost? Nothing. But it's that little special fun moment that they are creating to give you a little bit of attention and make you experience something that makes you laugh. And when you laugh, you feel great, you have a great emotion, you develop a connection with the company. It's about taking a transaction and making it an interaction. Here's another thing. Employees. These guys are custodians. They clean the park. That's all they do all day. And they know that they have to create those little magical moments for the guests, for the visitors. So here's what they do. They take a broom of water. They take that bucket of water, they dip their broom in the bucket, and then they draw Mickey Mouse with water. And this is Florida. It's like Rio. It's 35 degrees. So it only lasts 10 minutes, and maybe only 6 guests, 6 clients are going to see it. But you know what those 6 people do? They go like, how cool. They take a picture, and this is something only these 6 people get to experience. And then they go home and they tell their friend, can you imagine at Disney, even the custodian guys, they make drawings with the brooms. They draw Mickey Mouse with water. This is pretty cool. You know what the cost of this is? 0. Doesn't cost a thing. So this is something that's, in your business, and Dan's going to talk about this, how do you create this kind of thing? How do you motivate people to deliver this also? Now, attention to details, very important. This is at Disneyland in California. That red and white light bulb is called Walt's light bulb because Walt Disney was just obsessive, compulsive about details. And the day they built this thing, they realized they didn't have the right amount of light bulbs so that the sequence of red, white would be in the right order. So he made them paint one light bulb, half red and half white, because he thought, this is attention to detail. And when you want to develop pride in the organization for your employees, and you're that obsessive about details, the employees will follow the same path. They will keep an eye out and tell you at Disney all the time. You can ask Dan when he was vice president over there. The cast members would be the first one to say, hey, the paint is chipped here. It needs to be repainted. This is broken. It needs to be fixed. Or there's a light bulb that's turned off, and we need to change the light bulb because they take a lot of pride in the organization. Here's another thing. Disney spends a lot of money. Those are the manhole covers. And if you look at them, you see in the middle there, there's a little Mickey Mouse. Now, this is the kind of thing that is expensive. Really, you don't go on vacation at Walt Disney World just to see the Mickey Mouse on the manhole covers, but it's the little attention to details that tells you that this is a company that's looking for excellence. Everything speaks. Everything is telling you that this company pays attention to everything. Magic Kingdom on Main Street. How many trash cans do you think there are at Magic Kingdom? 72, not close. More. 200 more. 500 more. No, a little bit too high. There's 650 trash cans. And every trash can is exactly 10 meters apart. Why? Because when Walt Disney, who was obsessive compulsive, when he opened his first park, he realized that when people had a piece of paper, let's say they would buy a hot dog, and they would walk with the paper or the napkin, they would walk exactly 10 meters, and if within those 10 meters they didn't find a trash can, they would drop it to the floor. So he said, in my park, we're going to have a trash can every 10 meters. Attention to details. And now you have a park that's clean, and people around the world talk about the Disney parks and about how clean they are. Now, all of this costs money. You need to buy those 650 trash cans. You need to put that little Mickey Mouse on the manhole covers. But here's something else that Disney does really well that doesn't cost anything. When you walk around the park, everywhere you go, at the very minimum, people will say to you, have a magical day. It's a lot better than saying, hi. They say, have a magical day. And then if you're in Tomorrowland, they're going to say, hello, space travelers, because it's themed to the area. And you get to Frontierland, they say, howdy, because they're cowboys. And if you go into the Haunted Mansion, they say, welcome, foolish mortals. And they don't smile. This is the only place at Walt Disney World, all over Disney property, all over the Disney company, it is the only place where they're not supposed to smile, right? This level of detail, how much does it cost? 0. What can you do in your organization so that you have a personalized greeting, something that is consistent? Maybe it's not a greeting. Maybe it is something else, but that your staff, your employees can use to really elevate the experience and make it one of a kind. That's what you're looking for. Attention to detail. When you train at Disney and you interact with children, you are being trained to never look down at kids. Here's how you talk to children. You go like this. And you go at eye level, and you say, hey, how are you? What's your name? Hey, your name is Jack. All right, Jack, welcome to the park. Who's your favorite character? Buzz Lightyear. Awesome. You know, Buzz Lightyear is going to be over there at about 3:30 today, and he's going to sign autograph. You need to go there, get your picture taken with Buzz Lightyear, and get his autograph. That's it. You know how much it cost? 0. Right? When you make the kids happy, remember, mom's happy, dad's happy, the whole family's happy. So once you've determined this, you look at your business and you look at what we call the points of contact. You have a lot of point of contact in any experience. From the beginning till the end, you are touching your guest. You are touching your client in one way or another. You're greeting them, you responding to them on the phone, you're serving them food, you're saying goodbye. All these are different points of contact. And you have to identify every single one in the experience at Orla Rio. And once you do that, you're going to look at every single one of those points of contact, and you're going to say, am I delivering safety? Am I delivering courtesy? Am I delivering show or experience? Am I delivering efficiency? Are there special moments that we can create at this point of contact? And are we paying attention to details? Let me give you an example. If I call a restaurant and I make a reservation, and they answer the phone, maybe they'll say, hello, yes, you want a table? Thursday night, 4 people. All right, okay, yeah, table for 4, got it. All right, goodbye, we'll see you Thursday. You hang up. It's okay. But you can say, hello, this is Quiosques, blah, 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 at Orla Rio. Thank you for calling us. What can I do for you? You want a reservation Thursday night? Okay, great. Are you celebrating something? Because if they are celebrating, maybe you can prepare something for them. Do you have dietary needs? Maybe you can tell the chef, hey, we have somebody who's coming Thursday night who's highly allergic to milk or dairy product. You can ask, where would you like to sit? Do you have a sitting preference? Would you rather be here next to the music, or you need some quiet space? All of that is a touch point that you can elevate and make sure you deliver on safety, courtesy, show efficiency. You can prepare for magical moment, and you can make sure that you pay attention to all the details. So, like we said earlier, delivering excellent service has nothing to do with magic. It has nothing to do with pixie dots. It's all about creating processes and creating the manufacturing the experience. That's what you're going to do. And if Disney can do it with 50 million visitors and 75,000 employees, I promise you, you can all do it in your business. And that, it's just something that you need to put the structure behind it. So the idea here is to deliver expectations and beyond. And now I'm going to let Dan talk to you all about Orla Rio.
All right. Thanks, Valerie. So we've been spending a lot of time in your kiosks. We've been drinking, we've been eating, we've had coffee, we've had caipirinhas, we've had choppies, we've had pan de queijo, you name it, we've had it. And we've been collecting our ideas. And so Valerie told you about how we apply this at Disney. I wanted to put myself in the owner of a kiosk and think about how I would think about the business. How would I run this business? How would I implement all these strategies and all these tools and tactics that I learned from Disney into running a kiosk here in Rio? So when we got to, by the way, is the owner of De La Mar here? No? Okay. All right. When we got to Rio about a month ago, Agnes, our friend, her parents have lived here. They moved from France to Rio 46 years ago, and they've been here ever since. And her father said, I want you all to go to De La Mar. I really recommend you go to this place in Ipanema. It's in Ipanema, right? Yeah. And I said, why? What's so special about it? He said, the service is great. They're really friendly. They have great food. It's a great view. So he could have recommended one of 309 kiosks, and that's the one he recommended. And we went there. And it was a great experience. And they delivered on it, and people were friendly. And I got some photos from that night because it was my birthday also. And so we were able to celebrate there. And this is an example. I didn't look up on the internet where to go. It was a friend of a friend who told us where to go, and that's where we went. And now I'm talking to you about it. And that's how you build your business. It's through word of mouth. It's through your reputation of the experiences you deliver. So as Valerie said, we have the contact points. And there's certain contact points you're going to have stars, gold stars. It means you do them really, really well. And you do them consistently. And people love them. And then you're going to have green dots. And green dots are, you're doing a good job, but they're not memorable, but you're delivering on. No one's complaining about it. And then every once in a while, you got red dots. Like when I show up to a kiosk in the morning and I say, can I get a cup of coffee? And they say, we have to put the chairs back, come back in 20 minutes. Red dot. I'm like, I just want a cup of coffee. And then other times I walk up, I say, hey, are you open yet? No, we don't open for another 10 minutes, but what would you like? I'd like a cup of coffee. Hold on a second. Here you go. Can I pay for that? No, we're not open yet. You can come back later and pay us. That's a gold star. So this is the difference between where you can deliver these experiences. And when I deal with those experiences, I don't give credit or blame the frontline employees. I blame the manager. Whoever's running that place has put the rules in place. They set the tone. They've explained what the standards are and what those employees are allowed to do. And every time you go to an operation, if you go to Walt Disney World, you're going to have yellow stars, you're going to have green dots, and you're going to have red dots. And you got to make sure you have a lot more gold stars than red dots because everything's not going to always be perfect, but you can try to get as close as you can. So when it comes to Orla Rio, as I was thinking about a kiosk within the organization, there's the beginning of the experience, the end of the experience. And I'm not going to talk about all of them, but there's certainly a bunch of things that you need to be thinking about as an owner. There's the welcome, the first impression when you arrive, that's important. The atmosphere and the visuals of the restaurant. And I'm going to talk about this now and later. But when I walk up to a kiosk, is everything arranged really well? Does everything have a place? Or are there chairs stacked up in front of it? Is it clean? Is the menu out front like nice and neat and set up? Or is it cracked and it's kind of dirty? That first impression. Everything speaks. Everything makes an impression on you when you walk up. The music, the smell, the looks, the quality, the shirts that the servers have. Are they nice shirts with name tags if you require that? Or are they kind of worn out? You know, they've had the same shirt for a few years now. It looks like they've had it for a while. Because that speaks. It makes me feel like, I don't know if this place, how good is this place if the shirts aren't even that nice? So you have to look at all these things. You look at them individually. And I'll tell you, tomorrow, if you want to do this, get a camera and go to your kiosk or have your neighbor, get someone who doesn't even work there, have them go and say, I want you to take pictures of everything you think is great about this kiosk and everything you think we can improve upon. And they're going to figure out, they're going to give you all that back again. And you got to decide, because how much does it cost to replace the menu out front of the kiosk? It doesn't cost anything. It just has the attention to detail. You're wanting to be better is a difference. We were at a kiosk 2 days ago, and there's outlets in the poles of the kiosk. And we got there. I said, "Oh, great! They have a plug-in. I'm low on my battery, so I plugged my phone in, and it didn't come on. There was no electricity." I said, well, maybe that one's broken. I plugged it in the other side. It's not working either. Okay, how about that pole over there? And I went over and plugged that one in. And we asked the server, we said, do any of these work? He said, no, none of them work. He said, they're going to fix them eventually. And I said, okay, great. It didn't ruin my experience, but it was just a little detail of why can't you have that working? That would be nice to be able to charge my phone. So once again, it's about, are you willing to look in detail and have a standard and want to be better than you are today? That's all it is. And I'll tell you, I'd go walk the Magic Kingdom every day. I scheduled at least 1 hour out of every day I worked just to go walk around. And I had a lot of meetings and I had a lot of things to do, but I knew if I wasn't in the park regularly, I wasn't doing my job. And I would walk around for an hour. I'd say hi to cast members. I'd take pictures of chip paint. I'd take pictures of the employees who were doing a really good job and send it to their general manager and say, congratulations, this employee's doing a great job. I'd look at the lights, and if a light wasn't working, I'd snap a picture of that, and I'd send it to the general manager of maintenance and say, hey, we need to fix the light. And by the way, what's the process behind this? Why is the bulb out? When was the last time we checked it? Because once thing, it's a show, as Valerie said. It's a theatrical production you put on every day, and everything needs to be in its place. Everything needs to be the right way, and it's not impossible to do that. You just have to have checklists and have detail and understand what you want your operation to look like. There's the appearance of the menus, what you serve as food, the quality of the food presentation, the attentive service, how is the service done, the cleanliness of the bathrooms, the special moments, the value benefit of the whole experience. And this is just a few things. But if you start asking yourself, how are we doing on all these things, and talk to your employees about it and see where you can make improvements, you're just going to get better and better and better. Something I've noticed in a lot of the kiosks, you have gigantic menus. It seems like you serve everything there is on earth on your menus. And I would guess most things in life are the 80-20 rule. I bet that 20% of your menu is what you said. You basically make money with 20% of your items. 20% of the items selected make up 80% of the total items. And so do you really need that much on your menu? Sometimes less is more. Can you make it simpler so people know? I see the chalkboards out front of the kiosks, and someone has written, there's like 100 lines of all the food you have and the prices and all this, and I walk up and I'm like, I can't even read that thing. So you really have to ask yourself, how do the signs look right? Does it look welcoming? Are you addressing all these pieces? Now, not every piece of the experience is the same importance, right? Some things you have to deliver really well, and you're really going to get people's attention. And in my opinion, and if I was running one of these kiosks, I'd be looking at three things. I'd be totally focused on the arrival experience, the check-in. When you walk up to the kiosk, what does that experience look like? I'd be looking at the service, and I like to call it the attentiveness of the service. Are people attentive? Are they paying attention? Is there a process in place when I sit down, when I order my drinks, when I order from the menu, how quickly my drink comes, how quickly my food comes? When I need, I'm looking for I like spicy food. So every time I get my food, it delivers, and I look up and I'm like, I want a little pimienta. And I look up and I'm looking for that server, and I'm trying to get their eye, and they're busy doing things. Great servers are always paying attention to the room. They're always scanning, looking for something. Is a glass empty? Is someone trying to make eye contact? Is there something they need? And when servers are attentive, their tip goes up dramatically in my view because they're paying attention. That's another really important piece of this. And then as Valerie mentioned, these special moments. Am I consistently creating these special moments? These special moments we talk about, these magical moments, they don't happen spontaneously. They just don't happen when we think of them. There's a plan behind them, and you make sure they happen on a regular basis. And it's that you get your employees involved and you create those. And we're going to talk about that in our presentation. So let me start with the check-in and the first impression. Once again, think of it this way. If you work in retail, there's a certain way the shelf is supposed to be set up. The products are supposed to be here. The colors are supposed to be this way. It's very specific. When you go to the supermarket, the cereal is set up in a certain way, and the boxes are all set up, and everything's lined up. And when I worked at Disney, we'd take a picture of it. We'd take a picture of this is what this retail fixture should look like, and here's how it should be set up. And then we'd put that picture in the stock room, and we tell the employees, when you're stocking these shelves, this is what it should look like. This is the original look of it. So they had a reference point. So I would challenge you and say, do you have a picture of what your kiosk should look like every morning before it opens? Where should everything be? Where should the plants be? Where should the sign be? How should it look? Because there's only one way. It's the way you decide. It has to look the right way. Or are there beer cartons stacked up? And is there a broom leaning against the kiosk? And is there maybe a bottle from the last night underneath one of the tables? So once again, what is it you want it to look like? You take a picture of that and you tell your manager and your employees, this is what this kiosk should look like every morning before we open. Now you have a standard in place and you're consistent. And every single day it's going to look the same way. Here's another one. How loud should the music be in your kiosk? I don't know if it's because I'm getting older, but all music seems loud today. It seems way too loud. And I was at a college reunion, and we were at a bar, and I called my mom the next day. I said, we had a good time, but the music was way too loud. And she said, Dan, the music was the same, it was the same volume it was when you were in college. Just in college, you had nothing to talk about. So now that you're older and you want to talk about something, that's why you think the music's loud. But I'll ask you, what is the setting in the morning in your kiosk for the music, the afternoon, and the evening? Or is it just up to the server just to decide they want to make it as loud as they want? That's a standard. It should be very specific, and you should know exactly how loud the music should be. During the day, maybe it's lower. Maybe at night, it's turned up louder because that's when the party's happening. That's when all the young people are coming out, and they like the loud music. But you need to decide what that is, and it can't be random. It has to be very specific every day. When I walk up to one of your kiosks, I walk up, what should happen? Who should greet me? What should they say? And then if all your tables are full, should they say, you know what? It's going to be about 10 minutes. Can I get you a drink? Because now you have a standard in place. If we're full and there's a wait time, offer your customers a drink. A, you're going to make more money. And B, while they're having their drink, they're not going to walk to the kiosk next door. They're going to wait at yours, and they're going to wait to sit down at your tables. That's a process. It's a standard. You can train to that, and you can make sure people know that. When the person seating you takes you in, maybe they look at someone like me and they know, okay, you're not the carioca, all right? You're obviously from somewhere else. Instead of just saying, hey, how are you? Where are you from? You know, can they learn that in English? Or maybe even ask me in Portuguese, where are you from? Welcome. Is it your first time to Rio? It's this little personal connection. You know what? I would really recommend, we have the best caipirinhas in Rio de Janeiro. And you can all say that, because if you believe it, it's true. But you tell your customers, you got to try the caipirinha. We have a special caipirinha today, and I'd really suggest it, but you get whatever you'd like. So now I've planted the seed, because I can charge a lot more for a caipirinha than I can for food. I get a better margin. This is a business decision. When I sit down at the table, how long should I wait before a server comes to the table and welcomes me and takes an order? Some kiosks, we'd sit down, right away someone would walk up. Hey, good evening, what can I get you to drink? And when I go to a kiosk, I'm usually thirsty. And it's usually the end of the day, and I really want a beer. And when they come up fast, I like that. Sometimes we'll sit at a table, 3 minutes, 4 minutes will go by, and I start looking around like I wonder if they remembered we came or not. What's your process? What is the standard? The server should know. Within 30 seconds of someone sitting down, you should be at the table. Even if you're busy, you should come up and say, I'll be right back. I'll be with you in just a minute. Welcome. Here's the menu. Take a look. So now your customers are they're being taken care of. They're being welcomed. So this should be choreographed, just like a play, just like anything else. It should be a system and a process that plays out the same way every time. And if you can do this, you're going to make more money. Does the greeting look like this? I know your kiosks don't have doors. Most of them don't. But when someone opens up, do they look nice? Are they smiling? Or do they look like they're happy to have you there or not? Because when you can take an interest, welcome. Welcome in. Please come in. We're glad to have you here. If you can get your employees to say something like that, the difference between a normal experience and the experience you offer is going to be so differentiated because they'd make an interest in that. A nice clean look, looking people in the eye. Once again, you can train this. First impressions make a huge difference. Attentive service, paying attention to the customer experience. Once again, this can be choreographed. How long does it take to get your drink order? After the drinks are ordered, how long does it take to get the drinks to the table? And then how long do you wait before you take the order for the food? How long should the wait time take? The wait times take, if the kitchen is backed up, it's going to be more than 10 minutes. Maybe the server says, you know, we're running a little slow this evening. It may take a few more minutes, but we want to make sure we get you your food that's cooked really well tonight. That's something you can train. After you serve the food, I used to wait tables. Every time after I served the food, I would go do something. Within 1 minute, 60 seconds, I would go back to the table. How is everything? Because the first 60 seconds you get your food, you're thinking, do I need salt? Do I need pepper? Do I need pimienta? Did they bring the wrong thing? Is the food too cold? I check back in on the table. That should be something that's consistent. It shouldn't be something that happens sometimes, because those are the processes you put in place to have a very standard and great experience. This idea of the servers paying attention, I'll tell you, at Disney, this was a big problem. It's a big problem in a lot of restaurants in the world. I'm a server. I serve the food. I have a spare moment. I'm like, I'll text my girlfriend really quickly. And I'm over here at my table. I'm trying to get their attention, and they're texting. And I'm just like, come on now, you're working here. You know, these are very dangerous. They get us distracted from what we're trying to do. When a pilot is taking a plane off the ground, I don't want to think, well, their wife just texted them while they're taking off. They're like, yeah, I'm good. I'll be home later today. We want them to stay professional, being attentive. You want to see the scariest thing in a kiosk? The worst thing ever? Empty glass. This is a disaster. Because when that glass is empty, I should be leaving so you can get the next guest sit in my chair, or that glass should be full again. Because when you fill that put that more beer in that glass, I'm buying another one. And that's what I see something, just the server should be looking, keeping glasses full, making sure people have their food. When they're buying, you're making money. And you need to train this, and you need to make sure they're on top of this. And you can measure all this, and we're going to talk about that after. Want to see the most beautiful thing at a kiosk? This, full Shopee. There's a little bit too much foam here for me, but it's full glass of beer. It's really good. So once again, how do you make sure people's glasses are full, their food is there, and you're paying attention to them? Very simple concept, very hard to do. Because your kiosks are busy, there's people from all these different countries coming, there's people coming in and out. I mean, it's a busy place. But when you have systems and processes in place and everyone knows their role and they know how to do them, you're going to run better. You're going to run more like a machine. And when machines run well, they run efficiently. And when they run efficiently, you make more money. So we had some great experiences while we were here. The gentleman who kept that beer glass full was this gentleman right here. One of the servers. Does anyone recognize this shirt? That your place? Okay. Like I said, we visit a lot. Your servers were fast and attentive. I could just see it. When we sat down, they were there right away. As soon as I finished my beer and put it out, they're like, hey, would you like another beer? Now, the next morning, I wish they hadn't been so efficient because, boy, those beers came fast. But they took care of us, and they were paying attention. And I don't know whether it's because they were assigned to very specific tables or how often you talk about that, but you could feel the difference. You can feel the difference here, and this employee did that. This was at De La Mar. This was Brendan. No, Brendan Marlon. We called him Marlon Brando. So, but he was great. And it was my birthday, and he came up, we took a picture, and he brought the drinks, and he was preparing the drinks, putting the fruit in the glasses, and he looked like he was just having fun. And it made all the difference in the world. So he made a difference. And the last one was, I think, Patricia. She was at the, which one was it? Cel de Ipanema. And she speaks English. She lived in Australia. When we were at our table, the server took our orders. He brought our drinks, and then he went on break. And she walked up to our table. She heard us speaking English. She said, "Hi, I'm Patricia." And she shook my hand. I was like, "Hi there, how are you?" She said, "Good. I'm gonna, your server is on his break now, but I'm gonna be taking over. You have your drinks, you're all set with drinks. Your food will be coming soon. If you need anything, just let me know." And I was like, "Patricia, your tip just went up pretty dramatically." Just that attention for me, just that attention made all the difference in the world. So the question is, how do you recreate your employees to have the confidence to be able to do this, to be able to understand this? And a lot of it's hiring the right people and giving them training and teaching them how to do this. But that's what it should look like. And I've only shown you 3 employees but they stood out to us. So how do you get more of these employees to stand out? And the last thing we talked about was these special moments. How do you create these special moments? And when I was at Disney, I challenged every area, every merchandise location, every food and beverage location, every attraction, every custodial location. What is your special moment? What are you going to do to create a special moment for guests? And the employees came up with the idea of using the pan and painting in water. In some merchandise locations, they said, you know what, every hour we're going to invite a little child to come up, and we're going to have them decorate a cupcake, and then we're going to give them the cupcake. Because no one gets anything at free for Disney. So this is a big deal when a little girl gets something for free, right? People remember that. So you challenge your employees. They're so creative. What is it you can do in your area to make sure? Maybe once an hour, you randomly pick one table, and that becomes the one, and you go up to the table, and it's like, you won the Caparina of the hour. And everyone sings and celebrates, and they get their drink for free. Now, I know you say, Dan, I don't like the idea of giving away free drinks. This is not how you make more money. But once again, think about that moment, the picture that's going to be taken, the story that's going to be told when you create those kind of moments. So some of the moments you all do, some of you do this really well. Music. I mean, you're in Brazil, you're in Rio de Janeiro, you're on the beach. Music is fantastic. And some of you, almost every kiosk I go to either has recorded music or live music. But do you have some kind of thing going on? Do you have some activity? Do you have people dancing? Do you have that energy level? Do you have music going on? Are you inviting people to participate? You can create those moments for your customers. They're going to take pictures, they're going to take videos, they're going to send it back to their friends and show them how much fun they're having. Are you going to create those moments? Decorations. We talked about the show. I know this costs money. Some areas have invested a lot of money into very themed restaurants, and some are not as decorated. But when you think about the details of the paint and how the place feels and the curtains you put up, you create this environment that just feels right. And when you design it that way, people feel more comfortable in it. This was the cachaça tasting menu. We were with Guilherme, and he said, "Hey, we have if you want, there's 4 different kinds of cachaça, and you can have drinks, and you can taste all the different kinds." Most people aren't going to order 4 of these, but when you tell them you have these different tastes, you get to people pay for that, and you charge more. Once again, people will pay for differentiated impulse experiences, things that are special, things that are different. I don't find this a lot of places. I can't taste cachaça. I didn't know what cachaça was. And I tasted it. I'm like, it's my new favorite drink. But the point is, I didn't know about it. So are you creating menu items that are going to be different? Because you have lots of tourists, right? You have locals, Brazilians that come to your kiosk, but you have lots of tourists. They'll pay anything. They're like, dude, I just want to have a memorable experience. Show me what it is and tell me how much it is and I'll pay you. You know, when you come to a different country, it's kind of like going to Las Vegas. Money doesn't have value anymore. You're caught up in the experience and you're like, yeah, let's just have a good time. You need to create those moments for your customers. You all recognize this one, right? The Samba kiosk. Anyone run this one? So you got something good going on here. There's people dancing all the time. They're standing outside the kiosk or inside the kiosk. They got the whole Samba thing going. Once again, it's differentiated. People take pictures, they'll film it, they'll go back again and again. This wasn't in any of your kiosks, but I found this online. You know, you go to a Chinese restaurant and you can get the Buddha cocktail, right? So they give you the Buddha and they give you the little bridge and they put the dry ice in it so the smoke's coming off it. All of a sudden you go from, you know, a 20 real drink to like a 50 real drink just because it comes with a Buddha and the smoke. And now you can charge twice as much because I take a picture, I share it. It's the show factor. This is a great one. We saw this. Everywhere I went, there's sort of these crates with the coconuts in them. And if you want coconut water, they go in the crate and they take it out. They said, you know what? We're just going to make this a display. When you walk up, we're going to have this giant coconut with all the coconuts inside it. I think this is a great idea. It's a picture. I took a picture of it because for me it was very, you know, in Colorado, you don't walk around and see coconuts all the time, and you certainly don't drink out of them. So it's very interesting for us. So great presentation. When we were preparing this presentation, Valerie kept saying, what is this picture and why are you showing it? I said, look, it looks like at one of the Samba schools one year dressed up like cocktails. I don't know. But you have, so what if you had drinks during Carnival, or you don't even have to do it during Carnival. Most people from all over the world, they hear Rio, they're like, it's Carnival. They don't even know what Carnival is or what it looks like. It's already connected. So what do you have if you have these incredible drinks that celebrate Carnival all year round? You make a big drink with the fruit and everything. Once again, charge me 4 times more than a normal drink. I'll pay it because it's entertaining, it's different, it's a special moment. Once again, something themed after Carnival. Maybe you have a cocktail that comes with a mask, right? It's usually 20 reais. This one's 150 reais, but you get the drink and you get a mask. I'll buy it. So I'm going to put the mask on. I'm going to take a picture. I'm going to send it to my friends. I'm in Rio de Janeiro. It's not Carnival, but I got a mask. I'm going to go back to the hotel room. I'm probably going to throw it away, but I'm going to give you the money for it because you created an experience for me. This was at Miranchi. which is a restaurant up in, where is that, Enyas? Cocina, in one of the favelas. Incredible place. And they have this great menu, this visual. So once again, when I can see things, you have lots of tourists, lots of people who don't speak Portuguese, just make something that's visually pleasing. Because when I see this, I want to buy this. And you know you can charge a lot for these drinks because they have umbrellas in them and they have pieces of fruit. You can mark that up 10, 20 times. No one's even going to care because they have this memorable cocktail. This is, there's a restaurant in Miami called Barton G. And we've taken our kids there. We've been there twice for their birthdays. And when you go to Barton G, everything is a show. In fact, if you buy their porterhouse steak, not only do they bring you the steak, they bring you a gladiator helmet, a sword, and a giant fork. Because they want to say, you know, you are a warrior. You're a gladiator if you can eat this whole steak. And they charge like $120 for it. But you're sitting there with your gladiator helmet on, your sword, you're like, I don't care what they charge me. I'm a gladiator, so I love this steak. They create the show. This was dessert. Our son got this for dessert. This is a styrofoam head, and it's cotton candy, right? How much does cotton candy cost? Sugar. You blow sugar and you make this. It probably costs, I don't know, 10 reais or 5 reais. In the United States, this would probably cost you 50 cents. They charge us like $30 for this. And I gladly paid. I'm like, yes, it's my son's birthday. He wants the giant cotton candy on the lady's head. Just go ahead and charge me. And we took a picture of it and we put it on Instagram. We put it on Facebook. Happy birthday, Tristan. He had his giant cotton candy with him. So once again, are you creating these moments? Now you got to talk to your chef and you got to make sure, can I execute upon this regularly? But think out of the box, think differently. Because when people come to Rio, when people come to these places, they're here to have a good time. It's not like they're getting home from work to have a normal meal. They're here to celebrate. Attention to detail. Once again, standards. These are the best things ever. The buckets. And this is just your servers. When I order a beer, they should say, you know what? If you'd like, I can bring you a bucket full of beers so you can have the beers like right with you. So they go from selling me 1 beer to selling me 6 beers. That should just be an automatic. And now I've sold 6 beers. I bring up the bucket. We did this at one of the kiosks. They brought the beers, Coronas were all there, and then they left. We're like, all right, the beer's here. We got the beer. And I'm like trying to twist the top off. I couldn't get the top off because they're not twist-offs. I don't have a bottle opener. And now I'm like trying to get the server attention to open the beer for us. Once again, either attach a bottle opener to the bucket so people can do it themselves, or open the beer before when you deliver it. It's a standard. There should be a standard here. Because if you don't train your people, they will bring your guests beers that they can't open. And if you can't open a beer, you can't drink it. So once again, this is just details. These are just details coming together, but it makes all the difference in the world. Menus. So think about your menus. There should be a checklist item every day. You wipe down all your menus because they get salt on them, they get dirty. Wipe off the menus. When you bring a menu to your guests, you have a nice clean menu. Make sure they're not ripped. Once again, standards. This isn't from the kiosk. We took this as a random picture online, so don't try to figure out whose kiosk it is. Menus. This is not from your kiosk either. This is a menu at a bar we were at. Like, you almost don't want me to choose anything. It's like so confusing. Give me less choices. When you give your clients less choices, it's easier to make a choice. They make a choice faster. And when you have less items, you can do them better. So once again, think about your menu engineering. It makes a big difference. Ease of use. So when you go places, this is a great idea. Instead of putting signs, they put the ice cream, but they put the wrappers. So I instantly can recognize what kind of ice cream I want because I know what Reese's looks like, and I know what Snickers looks like, and I can pick that quickly. It really makes it easy to use. So once again, I would challenge you all to go back to your chefs, go back to your employees, and challenge them and say, how can we make this a better experience? How can we make this a celebration for our customers? And your employees will have lots and lots of ideas. Here's the worst thing you can do. come up with all the ideas yourself and then go tell your employees they have to do it. It never works. You need to get them involved. And they'll come up with the ideas and you'll try new things. Some things will work, some things won't work. But once again, you're creating these special moments. You're creating how this operation should run. And at the end of the presentation today, we're going to mention, because we want to do, we're going to talk to Guilherme about it. When we come back next time, if anyone's interested in doing a workshop, we want to dive into the detail and put together the tools for you all and work directly with you to help you put this together. Because you have all the ingredients there and so many things you're doing well. And once again, you're never done getting better. It's about making small improvements along the way. So now, we're moving on to the employees. I just talked about all the great things you can do. And you're saying, Dan, okay, we like what you're saying, but you don't understand. The employees we hire, a lot of them have never worked in a restaurant before. And I can't be there all the time because my kiosk opens at 6 in the morning and stays open until 2 a.m. And I can't be there all the time to make sure all this happens. And do you understand the level of detail checklists? I can hardly get people to show up for work, and you want me to do checklists. But that's the investment you're going to have to make, because your employees are going to be the key to success here. If they are not able to do this, then you're done. And you're just going to have to get whatever you settle for. And so once again, the value chain, the chain of excellence says, I invest in my employees, they take care of my guests. And we're going to go through this here. So, 3 things. If you can do these 3 things right, once again, simple but not easy, you're going to have great businesses. And we focused on this maniacally at Disney. Hire the right people, give them great training, and treat them really well. And if you can get these 3 things right, your businesses are going to be set. You saw the photos I put up earlier of the from De La Mar and the gentleman who kept my beer full, and Patricia who introduced herself. Those were the right employees. They are so talented, and you had the right people there. So if you can keep hiring the right people, you're going to have great operations. Then the training, and then how you treat them. So these are the 3 things we look at when we're hiring employees at Disney. We hire for skills, we hire for passion, and we hire for attitude. Now, we don't pay as much attention to skills, because a lot of our employees have never worked in a theme park. A lot of the Disney employees have never worked at the front desk of a hotel. Most employees have never worked in a parking lot. So we can't go look for people who've done this already and hired them. We're going to train them how to do it. So we don't care as much about skills. Passion, yeah, passion's important. Why do you want to work here? Do you have a passion for service? You know, when I used to interview people, I'd say, do you like working on teams, or do you like working as an individual? And some people would say, you know, that's a good question. I really like to work individually. I think I do my best work when I work as an individual. And I say, you know, that's great, but you should not be working at Walt Disney World, because no one works individually at Walt Disney World. Everyone works on a team. And if you're in the hospitality industry, you work on teams. So if you don't like working on teams, you're not a bad person. You just shouldn't be working in hospitality, because you're not going to do well here. So we got to figure that out. The thing we hire for is attitude. This attitude makes the difference. And the way we define attitude, people have a great attitude. They solve problems, because that's all you're doing every day in your job. You're solving problems. We're not going to get the food in time today. We didn't get the coffee capsules. The milk didn't get delivered. There's a rainstorm coming in. 3 of my employees called in sick today. The chef isn't here. We're getting inspected. The kitchen's being inspected today. Every day, all you're doing is solving problems. And that's all your employees are doing every day, solving problems. Okay, this American guy just came up. He ordered something. I don't know what he said. He doesn't speak Portuguese. I don't speak English. How do we solve this problem? And these are your best employees. And if you think about your teams, you know who the great people are that have great attitudes. They just show up every day. They're like, I'll figure it out. I'm going to take a leadership role. I'm going to fix that. I have 5 new ideas. And these are just great employees. So you have to be really selective and figure out who the ones that have these great attitudes are, because they're going to make all the difference in the world, and they're going to set the tone for your operations. Training. Coming back to training. if you don't know what you want your employees to do, there's no way they can know what to do. So do you really know, if you had to write down, here's how my operation should run. When someone calls, here's how the phone should be answered. Here's how many times the phone should ring before it gets answered. When I walk up to a kiosk, this is how I should be greeted. When the server walks up to the table, this is how they greet the guests. They should be upselling buckets of beer. They should be offering a caipirinha. They should be offering these menu items. Within 30 seconds of the guest sitting down, they should be greeted at the table. After I serve the food, I should come back within 60 seconds to make sure all the food is good, and do the customers need anything else. Once again, before you train people, you have to know what to train them for. And this is done with checklists. It's very meticulous, but it's how you run your business. Because that's how we take planes off every day. That's how surgeons do operations. They have very specific checklists on how to do things. And our operations shouldn't be any different if we're professionals. So what is your plan? And are you making sure your new employees understand that plan and how to go through that? And are you giving them time to learn? And here's what we hear from a lot of organizations. What if I spend all this time training my employees? Right? I spend 3 months, I train them, I get them really good, and then the kiosk next door says they're going to give them more money. And they say, well, I'm going to go take that job now because you trained me really well. Now I'm going to leave and go make more money. And a lot of companies think about that. What if I train everybody really well and they leave? And I say, that's not the thing you should be worrying about. You should worry about what if you don't train them and they stay? Now you got a big problem because every guest that comes in is going to get a below average experience. And you're not going to have the word of mouth reputation. They're not going to come back again. And that's how your business declines. So you need to take the decision. You are going to invest in your employees, and you're going to create structure for them, and you're going to treat them like professionals, and you're going to hold them accountable to do a job. And when you treat people like professionals, they become professionals. I know a lot of people say, well, it's different here in Brazil. We don't like too much structure. We like everything to kind of be flexible. I'm like, I love that, but you're running a business, and you want your business to run consistently. And when you can treat your employees like professionals, they will do a great job. They're going to feel more valued. They're going to have more fun. Your guests are going to enjoy the experience more, and you're going to make more money. So once again, this all connects together. So really quickly, 3 things I would recommend to you when it comes to how you interact with your employees. Relationships. Do you know your employees? Do you know their names? Do you know their backgrounds? When you show up to the operation, do you talk to them? Do you thank them for how the job they're doing? Do you see how they're doing? Hey, how's the job going? You've been here 3 months now. Are you enjoying it? Do you go shake the chef's hand and say, look, I was talking to some customers today. They love the food. You're doing a great job. Thank you for doing that. By the way, how's your family? Is there any training you want? Is there anything else you'd like to learn while you're here? Because once again, remember, you're working for your employees. Because when you work for them and you give them the motivation, invest in the relationship, you make them feel respected, they're going to do a better job and they're not going to leave. That's just human nature. Recognition. This is something I was never good at doing. Remembering to thank people for doing a great job. And I had to discipline myself to do this. And when I worked at Disney, I had this little computer in my pocket, and I had this little lady, her name is Siri, and she's always available. She never forgets anything. And I said, Siri, at 5 o'clock every day, remind me who I need to recognize today. And at the end of the day, I'd think back. What meetings did I have today? Who had a great idea? Who was a cast member in the operation who was doing a great job? I'd text them. I'd send them an email. I'd leave them a voicemail. I'd write them a note and just say, hey, by the way, I want to let you know, the food was fantastic today. I want the kitchen staff to know that. I had my neighbor visited the kiosk. They really enjoyed the food. Congratulations. Or when I came up today, the kiosk looked great. You all taking great care of it. All the paint was taken care of. I want to thank you for that. This is how we reinforce behaviors. We don't recognize people to make them feel better. We don't do it to build morale. That happens, but the reason we do it is reinforce behaviors. When someone does something that you value, you reinforce it by recognizing them, and they'll do it again, and they'll do it again and again. It's kind of like raising kids, right? When your kids do something good, they make their bed, or they eat all their vegetables, or when someone comes over, they shake their hand, they look them in the eye, and you say, hey, great job. That was a great job. Thank you for doing that. The kids say, oh, when I do that, I get good feedback. I'm going to do it again. We'll talk about Valerie's book. She wrote a book that's going to come out in October, hopefully in Brazil, definitely in the United States, called Manage Like a Mother. And it's all about how mothers are great leaders. And if you take parents and mothers and how they raise kids and apply it to your employees, you're going to be a great leader. A lot of this is very common sense, but recognizing, when was the last time you thanked someone on your team for something they did? And we just don't do it enough. We forget about it. We just don't, we think they're going to take advantage of us if they see we're being really nice to them. But I learned over time, you got to recognize behaviors. And the last one is feedback. If you want to keep raising your hand higher and higher and higher, you have to keep giving feedback to your employees. And I know a lot of us are uncomfortable giving feedback. We say, well, if I give them feedback, they don't like it. What if they leave? What if they don't? I don't like giving negative information to people. The reality is, if you value your people, you're going to give them feedback and make them better. And when you make them better, you're giving them more opportunities to have more job opportunities, maybe to become a manager one day. And so if you're a leader, you owe it to your team to give them feedback. And if you balance it with recognition, it's great. You did this well, and you can improve upon this. You're greeting the guests really well, but you're not doing the checklist every day, and you need to get that done. And you're constantly giving feedback. Once again, just like a mother. A mother doesn't wait at the end of the 4 months and give their child quarterly feedback. Hey, I want to talk about, 2 months ago you didn't make your bed, and I really have an issue with that. And the kid's looking at you like, what are you talking about? Mothers don't do that, so why do leaders wait? Constantly giving input. And when you give feedback, people get better. And here's the funny thing. Sports, coaches give feedback all the time. When I was growing up, I'd have a coach. He'd yell at me. Hey, I told you to put your right foot further back, so when we call the play, you can get off the mark faster, and you can get downfield faster, so you can catch the ball and score, so we can win. And when my coach yelled at me, I didn't go to the HR department and say, I don't think the coach likes me. He was yelling at me, and I don't think he likes me. No, he loves me. He wants me to be better, so I can get better and the team can get better. And so I don't recommend you yell at your employees, but you shouldn't be afraid to give feedback, because they look to you as leaders. They look to you to make them better. And once again, I really believe this. When you treat people like professionals, they become more professional. When you hold them accountable, they enjoy it more and they feel more valued. She's going to get really mad if you don't let her talk, believe me.
Maybe it's me. There we go.
There we go.
Sorry. Now, something I was telling you earlier about that emotional connection with the guest and the clients, and how Disney does that so well. Well, the one thing that successful companies do really well too is they do the same thing with their employees. And we all work for money, right? Everybody wants money to pay the bills. But above and beyond this, people want to be relevant, they want to matter, and they want to be part of a team. And if you can do that with your employees and share that with them and make sure that they feel part of the team, that they're involved in decisions, that they are appreciated, that they contribute, and what they contribute is important, let me tell you, they're going to feel like $1 million. And when they do, they're very loyal to you. Disney is not a company that pays well. The vast majority of people will interact with the guests, and the clients at Disney make $10 or $12 an hour, which in America is a very low paycheck. And they stay and work at Disney their entire lifetime, and they are dedicated to the company, not because of the money, but because at Disney what they do really well is they make them feel special, just like the guest. They make them feel important and valued. They give them recognition. They give them feedback, and they look at feedback as being a gift. I'm giving you a gift. I'm investing some of my time to help you become a better person. And when you do that with people, you get their loyalty. And when they're loyal to you, they perform for you. They are highly motivated. They are engaged. They take initiatives. They treat the guests really well because they're happy, because they're enjoying their jobs. Have you ever heard somebody said, "You can't pay me enough to work for this money, for this person"? It's the exact same thing that happens. If you are being nice to people, maybe the money won't be as important. Yes, it will be, but they will be loyal to you if you treat them well, if you take the time to recognize them. I come from France, and I promise you, unlike Americans who are always like, high five, great job, well done, this whole big thing. In France, we don't do that at all. And it was something I had to learn when I started working in America, making sure that I would tell people thank you. And I didn't know culturally it's not something I was very comfortable doing. So I found something, and I can't remember where I read about this. I did not invent it. But what I did, I put 5 coins in my right pocket. And at the time, I used to manage retail locations. I had several shops. So those 5 coins in my right pocket, when I walked my stores, it would gling, 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 gling. It would make noise. And that was a signal for me that I had to say thank you to 5 people. And the idea was that at the end of the day, every time I would say thank you to somebody, I would take a coin from my right pocket and put it in my left pocket. And the idea would be that at the end of the day, I had transferred my 5 coins to my left pocket. And that was a way for me to remind myself, say thank you to people. It doesn't have to be a big deal with balloons or anything. It was just like, hey, thank you so much for doing a great job today. I saw you interact with guests, and you provided great service. I'm really happy you're on my team. That's it. It would take 5 seconds and then walk away. And then I would take a coin from my right pocket, put it in my left pocket. And gradually like this, I built up a habit of telling people who worked on my teams, thank you for your contribution. I really appreciate you. And when you can do that with people, it doesn't matter if they're your kids or your employees or your friends. You know what? You getting recognition. You're giving them recognition, and you get loyalty back. And then they trust you. And when you've built this, when you have to give them negative feedback, now they're willing to listen to it, because they know that you're also capable of saying thank you when it matters. And you've built that great relationship with them, so that entire thing becomes a lot easier. Culturally also in France, and in America too, and we realize here in Brazil, people don't like to give feedback. It's uncomfortable. It's not easy to do it. Why is it difficult? Because usually you've never taken the time to get to know people. You never taken the time to say thank you. So of course it's really hard to say if the only time you interact with your employees to say like, you're doing this wrong, you're not smiling enough, you're not being nice to the customers. You know what the employee is going to do is like, all right, I need to start looking for a job somewhere else. But when you show them some love, and you get to know them, you get to know the person behind the employee, that they're humans, they have families, they have problems, they have issues. You get to know them personally, you invest in them, you say thank you when they do a good job. Like Dan said, just like your kids, they will repeat the behavior, they will do it again. And it will be a lot easier for you to say, you know what? You're usually a great employee, but I've noticed here's an area where you need to improve, and let me tell you why. And you explain that. And they're willing to hear it because they know and understand at that point that what you're trying to do is make them a better person. So it's just something that has to become part of a habit. You have to build a habit and build a little trick if you can, so you can do that on a regular basis. Now, that implies, of course, that you need to spend time in your operation. And when I say you may have a layer of managers that operate, that are supposed to be in the operation. These people need to be there and be working shoulder to shoulder with the staff and do this on a regular basis. Do the recognition part and do the feedback part. So.
Great. We have a couple more slides, and then we're going to open it to Q&A because we really want to have a conversation with you. And we want you to ask anything about what we said here today or anything we haven't said here today, and just have a conversation. So moving forward, We talked about sustainable results. Your goal is to get your customers to come back again after you get them to come for the first time, and to go out and talk about how great your food is, how great your experience is, and tell others. That's how you grow your business. In order to do that, your customers have to have a great, consistent experience and have unexpected moments, things they didn't expect. I got my beer, I got my caipirinha, I got my food, I expected that, and I had this nice interaction. I had this special moment. I had this song that was sung. I got this giant cotton candy on a mannequin's head. Whatever it is, you want to create that thing to talk about, that Instagrammable moment, the thing that people are going to take a picture and say, you got to come here. This is what they're doing here. And they tell everybody about it. And the biggest problem you're going to have is your kiosk isn't big enough because so many people want to get in and have that experience. In order to deliver that, you have to hire the right employees. You have to train them, give them the tools, the confidence, the know-how to do this. And then, as Valerie said, invest in the relationship. Let them know you care about them. Earn their trust. And when you do that, they will work so hard for you, and they'll make these experiences come to life. And as a leader, you have to do all this. That's why you get the big money, because you have to figure all this out. So there's 3 things I'd recommend to you that you do moving forward. One is define the experience you want to deliver in your operation. Now, when I say define it, you don't have to do it yourself. In fact, I would recommend get your employees, your managers together and say, you know what? I want to talk about the experience we're offering. How should this place run? And have them participate and start making a list and capture all their thoughts. What needs to be done every morning? How often are we going to paint this kiosk? Are we going to hose and sweep the kiosk out every day? How often are we going to clean the curtains? How are we getting the food brought in? What time do we open? What products do we offer? Have a conversation with your employees. Have a conversation with your customers. Find those customers that come to your kiosk once a week, twice a week, and say, hey, what do you think we can do to get better? Your customers know. I wish you had this kind of alcohol. I wish you offered this. I wish you opened a little earlier. I wish you'd bring this employee back. They were the best. They have feedback for you. Everything you need to know about your business, your employees know, and your customers know. You got to go talk to them and find out. So before you do any of that, you have to define what that experience is going to be. How loud should the music be? What should the greeter say when you go in there? What drinks should you offer? What should be offered on your menu? All these things, you got to pull that together. It could change over time, but have an operating guideline about how your operation runs. And once you do that, it's going to be much easier to manage it consistently every day. Everyone's going to be working off the same plan, just like great teams do. Next, you got to explain it to everybody. Now that we defined it, how do we train it? How do we get everyone to know how to do their job, how to communicate, who's responsible for what? Maybe you take videos and you show them, this is how you greet, and you take a video so everyone gets to watch what a great greeting looks like. Paint the picture for them. Go out in the operation, talk to them. Say, I'm going to be with you today. Let's go ahead and do this together. I want you to show you what this looks like. Just like we do with our kids. We show them how to do things, and that's how they learn. We communicate that to them. And then lastly, demonstrate. You need to be shoulder to shoulder. Your managers need to be out there with your employees doing this. I would schedule 1 day a month. I would go visit the Magic Kingdom as a guest. I'd be out there. I'd watch and put on shorts and a shirt and sunglasses and spend the day in the park as a guest does and just watch what it was like. What was good and what was bad, what needs to be fixed, what's doing well, and I'd go back and give that list to my team. And then I'd work in my operation. When I started working at the hotels, I spent 2 weeks as a housekeeper because I knew how important clean rooms are in a hotel. If you don't have clean rooms in a hotel, it doesn't matter if you meet Mickey Mouse. Because if there's a piece of hair in the bathtub, I don't care what else. I want this place to be clean and safe. So I learned how to make beds. I learned how to clean toilets. I learned how to clean showers. I learned how to vacuum. I learned how to do all that because I wanted to demonstrate that I respected the housekeepers and I wanted to show them how much they mattered. So are you present in your operation? Are you out there involved, making people better, giving them feedback, giving them a pat on the back, high-fiving them, telling them what a great job they're doing when they do it well, and telling them what they need to improve on when they're not doing it well? And that emotional connection you make with your employees is going to be the difference between good and great. And the difference between good and great is you're going to make some money, and when you're great, you make a lot of money. And that's the difference. So once again, figure out what you want your experience to be, make sure everyone on your team knows what it is, and then go out and make sure they're doing it every day. It's that easy, and that simple, and that hard. It's that hard, because you know how hard it is to run a business. This is not easy, but it's simple and it's clear. The last thing I'm going to leave, and then we're going to open it up for questions. We have some microphones to ask. We'd like to hear what's on your mind. This example, it's such a powerful way. Be the example. This is Walt Disney back in 1955, picking up a piece of trash off the ground. And when he first did this, people just couldn't believe it. You know, a president of a company does not pick up trash. And he said, this park's going to be clean, and we don't have enough custodial employees to make sure this place is clean. Everyone is going to be a custodian. Everyone picks up trash. And I don't care who it is, the president, frontline employees, managers, everyone does that. And when you can show that you're willing to do that job and support your employees, once again, your customers are happy and you make a lot of money. So this is a really important piece. People watch you and they will repeat what you do. And when you're an example, you're communicating a very strong message about what you value. So anything else to mention before we Q&A?
No, when it comes to leadership, we could spend a whole day talking just about that piece, and obviously there's a lot of tools we could share with you, but I think what we want to do, you've had a long day, and so we want to make sure we give you an opportunity to ask questions if you have any questions, and we can get them translated here. And
so I think we have some
fire
microphones, and the first question's always the hardest. Raise your hand. And the lovely Maria Paula and Isabel will translate so we understand what you're saying. She understands everything. I'm a little slow, so I need to listen to this. So what's on your minds? There we go.
Então, eu queria perguntar sobre a sua experiência no Rio. Qual foi a pior experiência que você teve e o que poderia mudar isso para você sair 100% satisfeito?
Well, I had an experience this morning, and it wasn't horrible, but I was just surprised. And it was at the Fairmont, which is supposed to be, and we went downstairs, and I ordered a taxi, and I wanted to give the valet 20 reais to get the car for us, but I only had 100 reais. So I went inside the concierge desk, and I said, excuse me, do you have change? He said, no. I mean, he's the concierge at the Fairmont. And he just said, no, I don't have change. So what can I do? He said, go to the coffee shop. So I walked over to the coffee shop. Can I get change? No. I can't get change, no. So I went back to the concierge. I said, okay, you couldn't give me change. They can't give me change, so what do you want me to do now? And he went down underneath and pulled out a little bag, and he pulled out change, and he gave me the change, and I gave him the 100 reais. And I said, see, that wasn't that hard, was it? And I walked out, and I gave the tip to the valet. So even if he didn't have the change, that's not okay, because he's concierge. He's there to literally solve problems. But his attitude was like, I don't have it, and I have no suggestion for you. And that attitude, when you're paying for a product or service, for me, that's not acceptable. Even if I can't help you, I still need to act like I care about what's going on. And I'm there to say, I'm really sorry. I don't have change. Let me go upstairs and get it for you, or let me look. But there was no interest, and he wasn't interested, and he really didn't care at all about me. And once again, that really was surprising because Fairmont's not a cheap place, and I thought it'd be better.
I think it goes back to what Dan was talking about. People who have the right attitude, they want to solve a problem for you. This man didn't want to solve a problem. He could not care less. We had a couple, there was a kiosk we went to, 3 days I went to us they had a really good cafe con leche. And I went once and I had it. I was like, great, I want to go there every morning and get the cafe con leche. Second day, I walked down, I had my money ready, and they say, we out of capsules. We don't have the coffee capsules that we're using. And I said, okay. Third day, same thing. Fourth day, same thing. After the fifth day, I'm like, forget it. I didn't go back. I'm a retail person. This is just a matter of putting a process in place. How many coffees do we sell every day? At what point are we going to reach the bare minimum, and we need to place an order? If it takes 3 days to get the capsules in, then 3 days before we run out, we should be placing an order. It's not complicated, and for me, this is something I think it can be a great opportunity because it makes a big difference. Now, you asked about our worst experience in Rio. We have not had a really bad experience. We keep hearing about safety. And when we come here, people, especially in America, say, oh, you're going to Brazil and Rio and safety, safety. We've never had an issue. But I think it's something that all of you in the hospitality industry need to think about constantly, because every time something happens, people go back to America, they go back to France, they go back to wherever they come from, and they talk about what happened to them. People talk on social media about two things: the really great things that happened to them and the really bad things that happened to them. And if they go back home talking about their passport getting stolen or something getting stolen while they're having dinner in a kiosk or wherever in Rio, you know that you are all paying the price for this. You're all affected by this. So it's never happened to us. We've been here. This is our third visit to Rio. We love it here. But this is something that you should all be aware of and partner on and change that reputation, because, as soon as that reputation changes, you're going to have more tourists. Tourists spend a lot of money. They'll come back. Your employees will make more money, and it's going to be a win-win-win for everybody. So that would be my answer. So.
Hello. Hi.
Do we have more questions?
Como é que você faz para trazer evento ruim que tenha acontecido, que os acidentes acontecem, e fazer com que isso se transforme em algo não tão negativo para o negócio?
Yes, so we didn't talk about today, but I'm glad you brought that up. We call that guest recovery, because things don't always go well. And there's a way to deal with this. I think the first thing is, if you hire people that have the right attitude, they will solve problems. You don't have to train them. If this kiosk was out of coffee, they'd go across the street to the supermarket and maybe go buy capsules. Or maybe they'd buy a coffee machine and say, you know what, until we get the coffee, it's not the same coffee, but at least we have coffee. Someone would have figured that out, right? Solve the problem. And there's no lack of coffee in Brazil. So that could have been solved very quickly. Now, some things go wrong at times. And what we've learned over time is when something goes wrong, listen to what's happening. Listen to the customer. They may be really unhappy. Let them talk. Let them explain what happened. Apologize. You know what? I'm really sorry this happened. Next, solve. What can I do to make this better now? Well, we waited for 15 minutes for someone to come take our order. We've been here. We can't get anyone's attention. We shouldn't have to wait this long. Tell you what, the first round of drinks is on us. I apologize for the wait. Have a drink on us. Now, here's what most companies do. Well, now you're saying we start giving away all these free things, and now the employees are going to have their friends come in, and they're going to start giving them free drinks and say it was someone that waited too long. Because we put rules in place for the very small percentage of employees who are going to do the wrong thing, and we punish all the employees who are doing the right thing. So if you make a mistake, take ownership, take responsibility, and solve that. And here's the interesting thing. When the customer has a problem and you solve it quickly and do it well, they'll actually rate you higher than if they had no problem at all. Because that's the moments when people really will take care of you. And they'll know that when something went bad, you were able to step in and take responsibility. I dealt with this all the time at Disney because we did a lot of things right, but we made lots of mistakes. And I had lots of guests not happy with me. I would listen to them. I would apologize. I would solve. What can I do to help you? And I would thank them. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. And hopefully they would leave happier when they went away. Number two, give your employees some decision-making power. I know a lot of you want to control your operation. I don't want the employees to do anything without a manager or someone involved. Give them some flexibility to be able to make some decisions. And some of your employees are going to take advantage of that. And when they do, you need to fire them and bring in someone else. But don't punish all your great employees and control everything just because you're worried that a few of them are going to steal from you. And that's how most companies operate. We're not going to let anyone make a decision because we don't want to be taken advantage of. That's part of doing business. And I think if you give more flexibility to your employees to take care of your customers and your guests, that intent to return, that intent to recommend goes up, and it pays back 10 times.
I want to add something to this. When there's a problem with the clients, often nobody wants to deal with it. People run away from problems, right? Because nobody wants to deal with an angry customer. And why don't they want to deal with an angry customer? Because they have not been trained. They don't know how. So Disney, for instance, they always train people, those 4 things Dan talked about. First, always listen to the guest or to the customer. Don't try to find excuses and say, yes, but this happened because of blah, blah, blah. The guest doesn't care. The guest doesn't care that the coffee capsules are out of stock or that the bathroom, or the lady who cleans the bathroom hasn't shown up to work today. The guest doesn't care. So don't try to justify yourself. Let them talk. That's the rule number 1. Number 2 is apologize. We are sorry you have to deal with this, even if it's not your fault. But the fact that you're going to show some compassion and some empathy for their situation is already going to bring the temperature down a little bit. And then you offer a solution. Maybe you can fix it, or maybe you can't. What can I do to make it right? What can I do to make your day better right now? And maybe you do a little gesture. You give a free drinks. Think about this. A lot of companies get hung up on the price of giveaways. What do you mean I have to give a free drink? Well, think about it. How much does the free drink is going to cost you? And how much is it going to cost you if that person goes around on social media and say, I went to this kiosk and it was horrible because of this bad service? That is going to cost you a lot more money. So you have to think about this. What is the cost of recovery and what is the cost of not giving anything away or recovering? And then the last thing you need to do is thank the guest or the customer. So say, you know what? Thank you for letting us know. We really trying to do a good job here and we failed to do that today. But thanks to your feedback, we're going to be able to make it right. And now your client is part of a solution. Now they feel like, oh, they really care and they're going to do something about it. And by the way, you really need to do something about it. But telling the guests that we really appreciate your feedback, thank you, is going to make a difference. So listen, apologize, fix the problem, and say thank you. And if you train people, that's what they do at Disney. And there's an acronym at Disney for those 4 things, which is called LAST. Listen, apologize, solve, and thank. And everybody's trained on this. So now when there's a problem, instead of everybody running away, they have a tool that they can use so that they can take care of the situation. And the worst thing that can happen when there's a bad situation is when you can't talk to anybody. Nobody wants to, you start complaining and go like, oh, and everybody runs, right? So you need to go ahead of the problem, be proactive, and use that tool. And most of the time, you're going to be able to make it right for the guest. And you're going to get somebody who becomes even more loyal to you because they realize how much you care about your service.
And by the way, if you're married, this works with your spouse. Tell me what I did wrong. Please tell me.
It's going to take too long, so Any other questions?
Hi, what are the areas or products do you think Disney can still improve, can make the customer experience even better that they have now?
First, price. Disney has become really expensive, and it was a deliberate choice. One of their big challenges is the crowds. So they thought, we're going to raise the price so much that fewer people will come, but those people will have a better experience. That was the thought process. Unfortunately, not only they raised the price, but the crowd are so loyal to Disney that they keep coming. So now you have high prices and long waits, so people are unhappy. And right now, there's been a big change. They are reassessing all these decisions and really trying to change that and maybe lower the price, lower the attendance, so people can have a better experience. It was a strategic decision that was made I would say about 6-7 years ago, and they're realizing that a lot of people are unhappy with Disney right now. So that's something they can do. I think Disney, in many ways, they're also victim of their success. It's a big machine, 50 million visitors. It's a lot of people. So it takes a lot of commitment to make everybody happy, and that's very challenging. And often in companies, that's what happens. You have some small companies that do really well. They have a great service. They have great cultures. The employees are happy, and then they get a little bigger and a little bigger and a little bigger, and then things start getting, a little bit more complicated. So I think the scale, the size of them now is an issue for them. So.
That's what I think, too.
Yeah, that's right. See, I train him well. So he always agrees with me. Kidding. Anybody else? Any other questions? Now we got somebody here. Talking about details while they get the mic to you, by the way, one of the things they teach you at Disney, which is, again, little thing, you never point with one finger, because in some cultures it's really rude. And if those of you, when you go to Walt Disney World and you meet a Disney employee, ask them for directions. And they will always give you direction with an open palm, never with one finger, because they've been trained, again, processes, training. They've been trained that it can be offensive to some people. So they always give you direction like this. So, anyway, I'll take your question.
Então, foi falado de que quando existe um problema na casa, o cliente reclama. Agora, quando você lidar com um cliente grosseiro, preconceituoso, porque a gente que lidar com o público, direto acontece um pouco isso. Teve uma ocasião que o cliente virou para mim e falou, porque tem pessoas da sua cor que servem a si mesmo, você não deveria nem estar aqui. E, foi um dos dias mais difíceis, mas a gente tem que manter a cabeça no lugar e prestar o serviço e deixar ele embora, porque eu sou um dos líderes, então tá ali na frente, não tem como estar chamando alguém naquela hora, você tem que lidar com os seus outros colegas de trabalho. Chega a ser muito difícil, só que a gente atende pessoas assim, grosseiras e preconceituosas.
Yeah. How often does that happen?
Algumas vezes.
Yeah. So when you work in the hospitality industry, you're going to have crazy stories. I mean, I had crazy things happen. You're working with the public, and the public is from here to here. You're going to get it all. But the thing is, those things are exceptional. They don't happen every day. And that's when you have to be professional and deal with that person and have them go on their way. But the good news is it doesn't happen often. Now, we remember it because it's very dramatic and it's hard to handle and deal with. But once again, what we always talked about is focus on what happens every day, and those are the things you need to handle. 99% of your business is here. And every once in a while, you're going to have that client who's racist, who says something that's unacceptable. You have to deal with that individually. But the good news is it doesn't happen every day. It's not every day you have a client says, I got food poisoning at your kiosk. I'm sure you've had complaints. I ate at your kiosk and I was sick. Okay, you were, But what we learned at Disney is when you serve bad food, everyone gets sick, not just one person. And so they may think they got food poisoning. They didn't. They just had, now if 30 people were sick, they got food poisoning. But it happens across the board. But the thing is, it's very exceptional. So you have to know how to handle it, but don't focus on it because it's not something that's going to come in. But it's going to be it's the nature of the business when you deal with the public. You're going to have those situations. And professionals stay cool. They don't make it an issue, and they just let that person move on. And if that person comes every night and does that, eventually you say, you know what, you can't come here anymore. You're out. But I don't know if you ever saw them again. Probably not. But you deal with those on an exceptional basis.
O Dan, tudo bem, Valerie? Gostaria que você falasse aqui para a gente aquele fato que você contou lá quando eu estava fazendo a imersão, que é lá na Disney, foi como vocês solucionaram os jovens brasileiros no parque da Disney. Que vocês tinham um grande problema e aí vocês tiveram que buscar soluções, você foi buscar entender a cultura brasileira para poder trazer soluções sem poder espantar o brasileiro, que representa um faturamento muito importante ao parque.
Yeah, thanks for that reminder, Jean Marceau. We have a big piece of our business at Disney is Brazil, and it goes up and down depending on the currency and the exchange rate. But there's times of the year it's a big part of our business, and Brazilians have a lot of passion, and young Brazilians have a lot of passion, and they like to sing, and they like to chant, and they like to travel in big groups. And when you're at a park in the United States, you could look at them and say, they're rude, they're loud, they're disruptive, and it's easy to kind of put that tag on them. But we decided, look, they're welcome to Disney parks just like everybody else. And we respect and value all cultures. So we have to train our employees and our visitors about their culture, and we have to help them have a great experience. And so a few things we did. First, you saw a picture earlier. We started recruiting young Brazilians to come work in the park. We'd give them a green and yellow shirt, so when you saw them, you're like, that's Brazil. And they spoke Portuguese, they understood the Brazilian culture, and they worked for Disney. So now they could connect with these groups and explain to them, like, if you want to enjoy the park, here's how to do that. Here's what we're going to do. Then we put processes in place. We would stop, the guides have those flags, and behind them there's like 60 Brazilian kids. And as they came in the park, we'd say, hey, welcome to the park today. What's your plan? What are you going to do today? And we'd find out, what time are you going to lunch, and where are you going to lunch? Well, we're gonna go at 12 o'clock today. We're gonna go to Pecos Bill's and have lunch. So we would make a note. The next group comes in. Hey, welcome today. Where are you going to lunch today? Well, we're going to be having lunch at 1 o'clock, and we're going to go to Cosmic Ray's hamburger place in Tomorrowland. We'd write that down. Then we'd give those to the managers of those locations. We'd say, about 15 minutes at 11:45, you need to start making a whole lot of cheeseburgers because there's 60 kids coming, and you got to be ready for them. And they would start cooking the cheeseburgers. When that group arrived, we kind of knew there was a big order coming, and we were able to get them out quickly. And so we would help them enjoy the park more, and we gave them employees to help them along the way. Because a lot of times when we have difficult customers, instead of trying to embrace them and help them, we try to push them away. But they're paying money, and they have a right to be there, and they spend a lot of money, and we wanted them to be there and feel respected. And so we really thought about that from their point of view. So this is a good point. Your kiosks, the chalkboards, they're all in Portuguese, which is fine. But even if there was something in English, because even if people come from Germany or France or all over the world, a very common language is English. If you put, the best caipirinha in Rio. I'm walking and I understand English and I see that, I'm like, oh, let's try this place, you know, suggestive selling. Do you have menus in different languages? QR codes, I know you have QR codes. Those are great. I can scan it, then I can see it in my own language. So thinking about from the guest point of view, how are you using technology and how are you preparing for people that are coming from different places and making sure they feel welcome and they feel like they're part of the experience?
Olá, boa noite, tudo bem? Essa é para vocês dois. A possibilidade de vocês não voltarem mais no restaurante ou a um quiosque seria um mau atendimento ou uma comida não saborosa?
Yes. 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 Yeah. If the food isn't good, I may go back if they had good drinks. Or if the drinks weren't very good, but they had good food, I might go back. But if I get bad service, I'm definitely not going back. Because I want a good experience, and I'm paying for that experience. And I'm willing to put up with mistakes, actually. If someone's really nice, they said, look, I'm so sorry, the drinks are taking too long, we're really busy, the bartender's running behind, but we're going to come back as soon as we can, I'll wait another 15 minutes without a complaint because you've informed me, you've communicated with me, you've shown that you respect me, and I'll work with you forever. It's the ones that don't want to come back and don't want to communicate with you that tell you to go to the coffee shop. I have no patience for that. And people want to be respected. And I think it's such a differentiator. And as Valerie mentioned earlier, you know what it costs you? It costs you nothing. It doesn't cost you anything to be nice to people. You just got to figure out how to get your employees to do that all the time. That's the hard part. But it has nothing to do with how much money you have. It's, are you willing to hire the right people and train them and make sure they know that there's that expectation? And once they all start doing it, they start to see the business get better and everyone's happy about that. So once again, money can't buy this. It has to be your approach.
I would go back if there's bad service and bad food. I would go back to the place and I said, would you like to hire us for good training? Because we can really help you out. So.
Well done.
Anybody else? We done?
Anyone?
I think
Anyone?
we're done. No more questions.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time today. We hope you learned something new, took something away. Our pleasure. Our pleasure. And we will be coming back to Brazil, and we would love to keep working with you all. So don't be strangers.
Obrigada. Obrigada a você.